I was going to get the cue to begin. Right. Well, welcome everybody who's joining us, wherever you're joining us from, and whenever you're joining us from. To those of you who might be joining us a bit later, watching the recording of this. This is the first in a new series of what we're calling EE Talks, in which we're taking a far more casual and laid-back approach towards, engaging with our audience when compared to some of the other events we've done over the past few months. EE Talks on a variety of subjects will be held every couple of weeks or so, always at 4 o'clock CET on a Thursday, not always with me, you'll be glad to hear, but as this first one is about football, particularly the European Championship, which starts tomorrow, we decided that I would do this one. I am, by the way, Craig Turp, the editor of Emerging Europe, a London-based platform that looks at a wide number of issues across the region we call Emerging Europe. And joining me today are two fabulous guests, both, experts on football. Chris Lash, who's in Warsaw, I've heard him described actually as a walking encyclopedia on both Polish football and Polish culture in general. And he's also the host of the Right Bank Warsaw podcast. And Vladko Arsov is joining me from Skopje. He's a Macedonian commentator and sports anchor on MRTV. Now, afternoon to you both. Euro 2020, hello. And I think everybody is still calling it that. It's obviously been delayed a year. And, I can personally say that I've probably not looked more forward to a tournament, certainly over the last 20 years or so. I just feel that, Europe needs this, you could say. I actually wrote something in January. I wrote, a short article about what I wanted to see happen this year, and Euro 2020 was on that list. Top of that list, by the way, was democracy in Belarus, and I'm still waiting for that, unfortunately. But one of the reasons that I think this tournament is big, certainly for this region, is that we've got so many teams qualified. I think there are 7. I'm actually in, Bucharest in Romania now. I've got tickets to a few games. I'm actually going to be seeing your guys, Vladko, on Sunday against Austria. So I'm ready for this. But Chris, I noticed earlier this week, I couldn't help noticing, and I've got to bring this up, that you actually tweeted the exact opposite. I think you said you've never been more unenthused about it. Why is that?
Yeah. I thought you might bring that up if you're. It's a weird one. I think it's partly because it's lots of different things. I think that I'm not a massive fan of the format of the Euros. I think, although I'm quite excited to see how Macedonia do, and I'm not just saying that because of the guests in the studio. It's because they're a bit new and a bit different. I think that it's a bit like, the fact that, only 8 teams are eliminated and you play so many games, I find a little bit excessive. I think it's too much of a, especially for strong teams. I mean, they really have to do absolutely atrociously to be knocked out. I mean, they have to completely fail.
I'm sure there'll be a couple who manage it, but...
Well, hopefully, but not too many, because you want good teams to go through as well. I think that the other thing is just in general with COVID football. I'm excited. I mean, I will be excited when the matches start, but it's just been such a weird period that it's sort of. I'm not sure if it's completely drained my enthusiasm towards football, but it's just made me question certain things that I considered to be sort of self-evident. Doesn't mean that I don't like it and love football. I just think it's been a really weird period, and it sort of made me sort of reconsider certain things around the game. But it doesn't mean I won't be excited when the matches start.
Well, what about the schedule and the way that the tournament's organised? I mean, it's been held in 11 countries, and it might have been a good idea at the time, but I mean, should UEFA have changed it? I mean, playing it in just one country. I mean, players seem to be going down like flies with COVID. I think there are quite a few who are going to have to miss games. And I mean, Poland, because I was looking today. So Poland's first game on Monday is in St. Petersburg. Then they fly to Seville, and then they go back to Russia for their third game. I mean, it's not ideal, is it?
Yeah, I mean, that's ridiculous. That's the big thing I wanted to talk about as well. I mean, you know, it used to, the games were going to be in Dublin and then in I think it was in Bilbao. And then because UEFA put such pressure on the amount of fans had to be specifically in the stadium, I think it's 14,500 needed to be at least. They put such pressure on the organisers that, you know, Dublin couldn't give them the, you know, they couldn't say that, you know, that they couldn't say that that would definitely happen. So from going from what would be basically a home game for Poland because there's so many Polish immigrants in Ireland to suddenly being in Russia and this incredible journey, you know, I think that's really unfair. I think the fact you have to go back and forth from Russia to Spain is just a real mess. So I'm not happy about that. Yeah.
All right. By the way, I think we've just been joined by Emi Roșu, who is a Romanian football journalist. Are you there, Emi? Are you with us? We can't see you.
Yes.
You are there. All right. I'll come to you in a minute, but I want to go to Vladko now because, you know, obviously North Macedonia are, you know, the team of the hour, as it were. You know, the debutants, along with Finland. I think Finland are the only debutants. So I'm going to be right behind your guys on Sunday. You know, no offense to Austria, but I always like to see, you know, debutants do well. What's the view from there? I mean, is it, you know, we're happy to be here, or are you looking for something a bit more? You know, I mean, as Chris said, you know, 3 teams will get out of some groups, and the draw was kind of, you know, kind to you. It could have been a lot worse.
Oh yeah, it could have been a lot worse. There was a combination in which we could have gone to Munich instead of Hungary, so that would have been a disaster. So this way, it kind of opens our appetites to do something more than just play at the European tournament. Because after the match against Georgia, when Macedonia actually managed to succeeded to qualify for the European Championship, there was some part of the audience, of the people who said it's not quite like we qualified because it's not the qualification cycles. It's something. We went through a small door against teams like Georgia and Kosovo, and we played Gibraltar. But after we won against Germany and played that great match against Romania in March, we're all at the same page. We want something more. So people are pretty excited here.
And is there much of a, you know, I mean, are people, you know, really into it? I mean, I actually saw some Macedonians on the street here today, you know, not many, just a small group, but some do appear to have made the journey here. You know, I mean, what's the atmosphere like there? Are people, you know, really looking forward to it?
People really don't like all the COVID restrictions and the fact that only, I don't know, about 2,000 may go to Bucharest to see the games. So they really, if this was a normal time and there were full stadiums,
half the country would be here. Oh.
Yeah, be sure that, because it's from Skopje to Bucharest is about not even 700 kilometers. So
yeah, it's about 8 hours. I've done the trip.
That's easy trip. Easy trip. Yeah. So they are excited and they want to get to a ticket and they want to come. Even if they don't have a ticket, they want to come and see what they are like. But with all this stuff with COVID, it's not so easy to just go there. You might be stuck at the border, for example.
Yeah. Emi, I'm going to come to you. I know you've got a baby with you by the sounds of it. But
let's make that three, but yeah.
You're obviously here in Bucharest, but you know, I mean, I was walking around town today, and as I say, I saw, you know, a handful of Macedonian fans, but given that, you know, we are hosting, you know, a major tournament, it's like nothing's going on, if you ask me. It really doesn't feel like something's happening at all.
Absolutely. For the Romanian, for the general Romanian public, I think the atmosphere is that football finished after the uh, national domestic leagues finished, domestic leagues, promotion playoffs, and all that, cup final, and we're basically taking a break. I think honestly, people would have wanted other fans coming here to cheer for their teams because we don't get to see lately so many big names. We had, I think, we were lucky, to put it like that, to play Germany in the qualifiers because otherwise we don't get the feeling that we're competing against big names in football anymore. Also, we are very happy that we played the friendly against England, which even though it wasn't England's best team, we at least showed some fighting spirit, which we I think we lacked in the past years. Let's say even that. Let's accept that we're not in our best moment. So yeah, I have to agree with you. The vibe is not that something massive is happening. The media is trying to build something, but um, it's not the feeling I would have hoped to see for such a big event, like we had in 2012 for the Europa League final, like we had even earlier this year with Chelsea and Atletico.
Yeah,
Even
you're right. That was a much bigger fuss seemed to have been made of that, even though then no fans at all were going to be allowed in.
yeah, it was different back then. But I think that with the competition approaching, maybe after the first game, I think they are going to adopt. The fans are going to adopt Macedonia and Ukraine because they are very open to the pop, to the Romanian media. They are doing uh, constant media activity with the Romanian media. So I think that people are going to like them more. They are already here, both teams. Uh, Many interviews scheduled, so people are going to know them better. Also, for Macedonia, they know them, and I think they appreciated a lot their fight in the qualifying game earlier this year. And Ukraine, surely because we have, let's call it like that, a common enemy now with Russia, and people in Romania, I don't think they love Russia so much. So I think they have a big chance of being the most popular team at the national arena uh, when they play Austria later in the tournament. So yeah, I think the favorites are. Yeah, sure. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say that isn't that part of the issue with this tournament? The fact that all the host teams not even there.
There are a few who aren't there. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Azerbaijan are not there.
Yeah.
Ireland, Romania. There are a few. So I think that's one of the weaknesses of this format.
When you go back to the start of the tournament, the idea is when you have two hosts, the two teams get direct qualification normally, and here you don't have that. So that's part of the reason, I suppose, why people are not so excited in Bucharest. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to, it's probably the same in Baku in Azerbaijan. It's probably the same in the other places. Chris, I'm going to stick with you a minute. I mean, Poland, probably alongside Ukraine, who Emmy just mentioned. I mean, probably the two most fancied sides from this part of the world. Is this going to be the year that Poland, finally, not necessarily overachieve, but at least punch their weight? I mean, I'm thinking back, and it's been a long time since Poland, I think, got out of a group even.
Well, they got to the quarterfinals in 2016, which is a big thing.
Sorry, I was thinking of the World Cup. Yeah,
in the World Cup, yeah, they did terribly 3 years ago, not 2 years ago. But they did terribly then. And but the big thing with Poland is that Milik, Arkadiusz Milik, and also Krzysztof Piątek are both injured, and they're the two kind of second and third strikers, really. So Lewandowski obviously is the number one by a mile, but then after that it's going to be a guy called Karol Swiderski, who plays in Greece, and Kuba Sierczok, who plays in Poland. Actually, he's one of the 3 or 4 players who plays actually at home. So we're not exactly sure how Paulo Sousa, the coach, is going to set them up. Lewandowski's
and he's
actually not.
new, isn't he? He only joined this year. I mean, didn't they? They changed their coach, 6 months or less than 6 months before the start of the tournament. I mean, that was strange.
Yeah, the previous coach was really not liked at all. Kuba Błaszczykowski's uncle, Brzęczek, Jerzy Brzęczek, who everyone hated. And everyone thought that he was going to be sacked during the Nation League games in October, November. But Boniek, who's the coach of the FA here, didn't. And then they, in January, just randomly, he sacked him. And he brought in Sosa. And everyone didn't really know what was going to happen. It's been quite nice, though, because Sosa doesn't really know the situation here. He's just coming quite fresh. He's not really aware of all the cliques, all these kind of people these players who've been around for ages, like this guy Kamil Grosicki, who doesn't play for West Brom, who's been very good for the national team. But he's been much more, let's say, he's come and watched games. He's been kind of interested, and he's there's a bit of excitement around it. But the big problem is how do you get to cut it short? But how do you get the service to Lewandowski? Because Lewandowski is the best player in the world. I mean, it's crazy to say that, but he is, and certainly he's a brilliant player. But you've got to get the ball to him in the right areas. And even in previous tournaments, he's not done that well in the main tournament. So he didn't do well at the World Cup. He didn't do well at the Euros 5 years ago. So that's the key thing. I mean, I suppose the idea is to get out of the group and then see what happens. But I'm not massively hopeful. I think they might, quarterfinals is probably the absolute top that they can achieve, I think.
All right, Vlatko, I'm going to ask you about, I've got to admit, Goran Pandev is the only Macedonian player I've heard of. So, who else should we be looking out for on Sunday?
Well, I've already saw a lot of European magazines and websites doing kind of you should watch those young talents or that kind of. So all of them talk about Eli Filmas. And Eli Filmas is a player of Napoli. He didn't have quite the relationship with Gattuso, so he was used just for about 10 minutes now and then in Serie A. He had maybe more games in the Europa League, but when he comes to play for the national team, he's just amazing, and he's only 21 years old, I think. So we have in our team, we have the completely opposite problem of Poland. We have the backcourt, we don't have a striker. So Pandev, he's an icon here. He's great. He has played, remembering Jose Mourinho and Inter, he played wherever he was told to. So he played fullback, I can remember, but he's not a striker. He's great in offense. He knows what to do with the ball. He can pass. He can score, of course, but we don't have that, old-fashioned number 9 striker. We had Ilya Nestorovski from Udinese, one of the few players that play in the Big Five, but he injured himself in a training for Udinese late in the season. So that's going to be our main problem in the game. The match against Germany that we won in March, actually we had a formation that was like something like, Pep Guardiola's philosophy with no striker. That was our formation, basically. Goran Pandev and
not having a striker is not really a handicap anymore, as long as you've got goals coming from elsewhere, I suppose.
Yeah, but sometimes it's predictable and it's easy to read. So that's what we are afraid from. We have Pandev. he is the main guy, but we have a lot of young people behind him who know what to do with the ball, who are very creative. Enis Bardi from Levante, from the Spanish Primera, and Aryan Ademi from Dinamo Zagreb, the team that made really big success in Europa League. He's the captain of Dinamo Zagreb. So yeah, we have quite a creative guys in the middle court, but let's see.
Alioski's also really been successful, hasn't he, at Leeds? 36 games.
Yeah. Alioski is one of the most famous in the team, maybe because he plays in the Premier League in Leeds. He's gonna have tough time especially against our opponents, Austria and Ukraine, knowing the way they play. For example, the game against Austria in the qualifications here in Skopje that we lost 1-4. We were destroyed from the wing players, Lazaro and I don't remember the other guy. So that's the position where Alioski should be more defensive oriented, and he is a bit unreliable when it comes to the defense.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I mean, as I said earlier, I think the draw was, fairly kind, and I think that given the other teams in the group, I mean, obviously, Ukraine do look the strongest, but the Netherlands, are certainly not half the team that they have been in the past, and Austria are usually rather flaky. So I don't think there's any reason why North Macedonia can't pull a surprise at some stage. Chris, I want to come back to you and move away a bit just for a minute from Euro 2020. And, it's been what, 6 seasons since Poland had a team in the Champions League. And, as much as we might talk about, there's 7 Eastern European sides in these finals, at club level, the region is just dead. There are a couple of exceptions. I know the big Ukrainian teams, but, and it's not going to change anytime soon, is it? I mean, Polish football, Polish domestic football. Before COVID, whenever I saw Polish football on television, it always seemed to be well supported. But that kind of, didn't reflect the quality on the pitch, which wasn't always the best.
I mean, I think that this is a very long question, difficult thing to talk about all the issues, but I don't think the standard's that bad. I mean, I don't really watch much apart from the Polish League, to be honest. I don't have time. I've got a 2-year-old son, I got a job, and I got lots of other stuff to do. So it's difficult to watch all these, I'm not like 23 and I can just watch 7 different leagues on a Saturday, which everyone seems to do on Twitter, that people are obsessed with it. So I watched the Polish League and on a bit of the Championship because my team's Reading in England. The quality, the problem is a lot of the players just leave quite quickly because there's always, the market basically is totally unfair. It's totally unfair. Obviously, some clubs like, Dinamo Zagreb, which Vladko said before, are able to do well. But, it's partly because they're completely corrupt. They got Mamic, and they completely dominate.
Just been arrested in Bosnia. The Bosnians are trying I think Croatia's trying to extradite him from Bosnia.
Yeah, I mean, these are not like, it's not like, oh, this is a magic, story or something. This is a criminal, basically. I don't want to put you into trouble here, but basically it's a criminal, and so it's difficult. I mean, in order to really succeed at the top level, you need to have huge amounts of money. The other way you can succeed, is to have a well-run club, and Poland doesn't have lots of money. The clubs don't. Legia does have a bit of money. But it's not used right, and I think that the second thing is, again, the resources are not used very well. They could be used better, but still, even if they were used better, the best that could happen would be, I don't know, last 16, maybe of the Europa League, and now it's the Conference League is coming in. I mean, look at the Czech teams that do well. I mean, they're most, I don't know about both of them, but I think Slavia's Chinese money. I mean, the system's unfair. Polish teams are doing badly, but the system's unfair.
Fair enough. Vladko, what's the domestic league like in Macedonia? I mean,
it's awful. It's I suppose it's the worst 3 in Europe for sure. We had some success in 2017 when our best team, Vardar, managed to qualify for the group stage in Europa League. We played against Zenit, Real Sociedad, and Rosenborg, I think. So that was just temporary shine. And as Chris said, Russian money in our case. And after few years, the sponsor just left. The club has debts around, I don't know, 3.5-4 million euros. That in the football is not that much, but in our country that's too much. So now
be careful with Spanish investors, please, because in Dinamo in Romania they had big debts, and they had the Spanish saviors coming in, and they made the crisis even bigger. Now they're on the verge of going bankrupt. So if Spanish millionaires come all of a sudden out of nowhere, be careful and check their background. Yeah, check see where the money comes from.
Thank you for the tip. But we haven't had so far that kind of situation. We thought we have the Roman Abramovich story, but nothing like that. So now the club is relegated to the second league, and that was something unimaginable for a club with such history and tradition. And Vardar is only the symbol of what's going on in the whole league. Very poorly organized. There is no money, as Chris said. And imagine in Poland, the clubs still get to some level in European qualification. So here it's the same, but about 3 to 5 times worse, I can guess.
Emmy, I'm not even going to get you to talk about the Romanian league, because that's we could be here all night if we were.
It's even worse than Macedonia.
I will say that your Twitter account is a one-man goldmine of gems from the Romanian league.
You're very kind.
Most of which aren't complimentary, by the way. But just coming back to you for a minute, Emmy, Romania is not playing in this tournament, but Bucharest has got 3 new stadiums out of it. Although I should actually point out that it's a good job the tournament was delayed a year, otherwise they wouldn't have been finished. So there is at least one bonus, no?
Fortunately, we do have the stadiums, and we used the Euros as the perfect pretext to build those stadiums. As you said, at this point, none of them is in use properly. So we have the big national arena, which was built in 2011, so 10 years ago, which will host the games. And we have the Steaua ground, which was never in use. It was ready in November last year, but there's still a long way to go until football can be played there. Macedonia is going to train there. And all the others, Arcul de Triunf, which was initially a rugby destination for rugby fans and for the rugby national team, was nobody knows what's going to happen with that stadium in the end. While Giulești is probably going to be finished by winter. They say autumn, but you probably know by living here that autumn means at least winter, and I'm only saying that because it's the third time they say autumn. So it was last autumn, then this autumn, and now it's late autumn, but probably they will finish it by winter. Hopefully they will be ready to play football there at the beginning of next year, hopefully, because the stadium is okay. But now I think they have problem with the bureaucratic part. The papers are not ready. In Romania it's like that. Again, sorry for messing things up a bit for you guys, but I was supposed to get on a train at
No worries,
4:50.
no worries.
It got here much later.
I know what
So yeah,
Romanian
it's
trains
like
are
this.
like. You
It's
don't have to
you can
apologise.
never.
You really
It's
don't.
unpredictable. Yeah, let's call it unpredictable.
That's the best way.
Yeah,
Emmy, what's the capacity going to be on Sunday?
it's part of our charm. Yeah, to be unpredictable.
What's the capacity going to be on Sunday? How many people are going to be allowed in?
12,500.
So 25% full.
They sold. Yeah, 25% full, 12,500, and they are trying to open. The sports minister said they are going to open 50% of the capacity for the game we host in the last 16 phase.
Oh,
so yeah, that's
I
good
just
news.
wanted to interrupt
Go on,
you
Blacko.
because today there was news from Romania that 50% of the stadium is going to be available for the fans, but someone from our football federation said that nothing is yet confirmed, that for our games it's still 25%. So I guess that's only for the knockout
so all
round.
the group games are still
Okay.
Yeah, just the game we are hosting in the knockout round. The all
Emmy seems to have gone. Anyway, we need to wrap up a little bit. So coming back to the Euros, I'm just going to ask you for a prediction. Who's going to win? Not on Sunday, the tournament. Who's going to win? Who's your money on?
I think Portugal is gonna defend the title.
I think France probably in terms of their quality. But yeah, who knows? I mean, their squad's amazing, but Germany seemed worse than before. Spain aren't as good. So why do you think Portugal, Vladko?
Well, they got amazing players, of course, and it's important if those players can work as a team, for sure. But the main concern for me in Portugal is if Ronaldo's ego is going to be bigger than the team. If they can manage that, so there will be very tough opponent for everybody. I tried to do the UEFA predictor game on the UEFA Euro 2020 application. So it got me to Portugal and England in the final. Doing the bracket.
Oh,
I don't know how I got there, but that's what I got. Predicting match by match and group by group first, and then the knockout phase.
And in that, how far did North Macedonia get?
Well, I hope we can have at least one victory that can lead us to the 8 finals, to the last 16. That would be amazing success for us.
Well, I wish you all the best. As I say, I will be there on Sunday, so I hope that I will.
Thank you.
I hope that I will get to see them perform well, at least. I, by the way, think that Italy are going to win it. Don't know why, but just got a feeling that Italy are going to win it. So we'll see who's right, and well, I'm looking forward to it. I hope you grow into it, Chris, as you say. I hope that once they start playing, you'll be a bit more enthused about things. All right. Well, thanks, chaps, for joining me. It looks like Emmy had to go and catch his train, so I will thank him when next time I see him. But thank you, Vladko. Thank you, Chris, and wish you both the best, and hope to get the chance to speak to you again sometime.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, have a good
tournament.
Bye
bye.